Meanwhile, a high-stakes budget battle gripping Capitol Hill as the Republican-controlled House approves a measure to keep the government running while gutting Obamacare. Well, now the fight moves to the Senate, where Republicans are facing calls for unity to keep the House spending bill alive. Republican Senator Ted Cruz releasing a statement saying, in part, if Senator Reid insists on using a 50-vote threshold to fund Obamacare with a partisan vote of only Democrats, then I hope that every Senate Republican will stand together and oppose cloture on the bill in order to keep the House bill intact. That is a quote there from Senator Ted Cruz. Bringing in now Richard Goodstein. He's a Democratic political consultant and a former advisor to Hillary Clinton for president. And Deneen Borelli is a Fox News contributor and the director of Outreach for Freedom Works. Good to see both of you.
Hello. Hi, Arthur.
So, Deneen, I'm going to start with you on this one. Senator Cruz seems determined. Is he trying to prove a political point, willing to hold the government hostage, or do you feel that his tactics is making sense in any way to you?
Well, I see this as good politics and good policy, because what we want is for this to move forward in the Senate, to force the senators to vote on this initiative, this budget initiative, because we have a number of senators up for re-election this year, and that will just really play out who is in favor of defunding or funding Obamacare. I say we get the ball rolling right now on this issue so that Americans know where these individuals stand, because overwhelmingly 53% of Americans disapprove of Obamacare, and 53% of Americans disapprove of how President Obama is even handling this health care initiative. So I think we need to move forward on this with the filibuster.
Okay, so Richard, you're hearing Denise talking about a little more than half of Americans saying, listen, we don't want Obamacare. So it seems like they're trying to position it as such a poison pill that you better not touch it. And if you do, you're going to see some results in the polls.
Well, for all practical purposes, Arthel, Obamacare was on the ballot just last year, 10 months ago, when Governor Romney said if he was president, he was going to repeal Obamacare. And the consequence, at the presidential, Senate, and House level, across the board, Democrats got more votes. And in the polls, even the ones that Deneen cited, yes, it's true that there seems to be a bit of a majority. But if you look at that, 16% of that 53 actually says they disapprove because they want the health care to be more liberal, not to repeal it.
What does that mean?
So in the aggregate, no, that's actually not in dispute, and that's been true all along. All those numbers have been distorted about who's opposed. If you add the people who are in favor of it and the people who think it should be even more aggressive, that's actually getting close to 60%. Look, it's a high-risk game. Senator Cruz may appeal to his base, but he's even got a lot of his colleagues, and very conservative ones, who say, look, this is just not going to happen.
Listen, Americans are not in favor of this. As I mentioned, it's 53%. Listen, we were lied to. Obama lied to us. He said you can keep your health care. That's not true. Look at IBM. Look at these other businesses, Walmart and Home Depot, who are either letting employers unfortunately, they're losing their insurance, or some of their spouses are losing their insurance. We've been lied to. The costs would go down. No, they won't. If you're in certain states, the costs are going to go up anywhere from 24% on average, and then if you're in Wisconsin, up to 125%, it could possibly go up with the cost. So clearly, we were lied to.
Richard,
and what we need is
this. And go ahead, finish your thought, Deneen. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say that it's not ready for prime time. America is not in favor of it, and I think Obama and anyone else that is not in favor of defunding this is on the wrong side of public opinion.
Okay, so Richard, let's say the Senate comes back with alterations, with funding for Obamacare. Talk to me and talk to the American people, Richard, in terms of what is it that would make folks more comfortable with having health care for everyone?
Well, certainly people are comfortable with the individual provisions. They don't want to be discriminated against when they have a pre-existing condition. They don't want to be tossed out when they get sick. They want their kids to be on their programs until age 26. They want to have preventive care. So they like actually all the individual components. What they don't like is because there's been all this talk. We're hearing it from Deneen. We see these crazy ads. So they have generally a bad kind of association with the word Obamacare. They just happen to like in the individual components. So I would say to Deneen and everybody else, let's see it get implemented. The fact is only 36% of the public in all the recent polls want repeal. The rest either say, let's see how it plays out, or maybe even fund it more. So I just think for anybody
a vast array of people are not in favor of this. Even President Obama, who delayed the employer mandate initiative. Max Baucus, for crying out loud, he's a Democrat. He even called it a train wreck. And even some of the union leaders, representatives, they don't want anything to do with this. They're moonwalking backwards away from this thing. Clearly, it is a train wreck. It's a nightmare. It's going to kill our economy. Hours are already being cut. People are being let go. It's not going to help our country. It's not going to help our economy. It's an absolute nightmare.
Richard, let me jump in there and give you the last 20 seconds. Some of the examples Deneen pointed out, including the unions having some problems with this. Is it a big picture problem, or do you have some people who have their personal gains that perhaps are not being met is why they have a problem with it?
Right. With every program like this, Medicare, Social Security, when they were first enacted, there were changes along the way. It took decades for Social Security and Medicare to look the way they do today from where they were enacted. Look, of course, this is not perfect, but it's something that the public, Democrats and Republicans alike, have been wanting for the past half century. Let's see how it plays out. Frankly, in a lot of states, the prices are coming down. The cost curve is being bent downwards. We'll see.
Even the exchanges aren't even ready. And in less than 2 weeks, the healthcare exchanges are not even ready at millions of dollars that have been spent to get the calculator working. They can't even figure that out.
I got to leave it there. Deneen, Borelli, Richard Goodstein,
Thanks,
thank you very
Arthel.
much for the spirited conversation. Appreciate your time.